How's it going, guys? It's K Cars, and today I'm going to show you guys how to install tow hooks on my 2001 Jeep Cherokee XJ. So the tow hooks that I got are these, and they're from Rugged Ridge. I got them from Quadratech for about 120 bucks. As you can see, these are the actual tow hooks, and these are the brackets that attach to the frame. They are a little scratched up right there, so I'm probably going to go ahead and paint that. This is all the hardware it comes with, all these different screws and stuff. These hooks just attach to the bottom of these brackets right here, and this bracket attaches to the actual frame of the Jeep. Then if you look right here, this hole is where the tow hooks will actually come out. So I'm going to show you guys how to actually install these things. So to install these actual tow hooks, we're going to have to go ahead and take off the whole front bumper. And to do that, the first step is going to be to disconnect the fog lights right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Right over here is the fog light connector, so we just have to go ahead and disconnect this. There we go. The next thing we're going to do is just remove this little push pin that's holding the fender liner on here. This is just to the right of the fog light right here, so I'm on the driver's side. On the passenger side, of course, it's going to be on the left of the fog light. So let's go ahead and just remove this little push pin. There we go. We should be able to just fold this little fender liner up here just to give us more room. So once you get that push pin removed, your fender liner should be able to bend back a little bit. And next I'm just going to go ahead and remove this fog light connection right here to make it a little bit easier to get to the nut on the other side of these screws. As you see here, I already have my tool in there, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that connection right there. There we go. Just put that to the side there. So the next thing you're going to have to do is remove these two bolts on the bumper end cap. So there's one right there and one right there. And you're going to have to hold it down from the other side all the way up here. You just have to feel up in there and hold it down with a wrench. Otherwise, the screw will just be spinning and you won't actually unscrew it. So I'm just going to use a wrench to hold it down from the other side and a socket to unscrew it from here. So the nut is going to be a 10mm and the screw is also going to be a 10mm. So as you see, I have a wrench sitting up there to hold the nut, and I'm going to use a 10mm socket to go ahead and remove the screws. And make sure you don't forget to take the nut out from the other side as well as the screw. Alright, so we got this screw out. Now we can go ahead and take out this one right over there. It's going to be the same exact process, just a 10mm nut and a 10mm screw on the bottom. I almost thought I lost the nut, but I ended up getting it out. So same thing as last time, just keep the nut and screw because you're going to need to reuse these to put these end caps back on. So the next thing we're going to do, it's kind of hard to see on camera and in person, but there are two more screws that we have to take out, and they're all the way up above the horn. So if I try to squeeze you guys in here, you should be able to see them right there. Those are the two screws we're going to have to take out. Alright guys, so I got those two screws out. These were pretty difficult to reach. These are 8mm, so I guess you just have to take your time and be patient. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next step. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this little screw out right here. This is also going to be a 10mm, and there is also a nut on top that you have to hold. Alright, so the nut on top of this one is actually an 11mm, and the screw is a 10mm. Alright, so it ended up just breaking off right there. As you can see, I watched another YouTube video about a guy trying to do this same exact thing, and the same exact thing happened to him. It just broke right out. So yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and take this thing off. So there we go. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. and then I'll show you guys how to get the actual bumper off. All right, so after a good bit of struggling trying to get those 8mm bolts out, we finally got the other side out here. So now we can actually remove the actual bumper here. So the first thing we have to do is remove the vacuum canister. It's right in there, and it's held on by these two T25 Torx screws. So we can go ahead and screw this thing out. Now this vacuum canister is nice and free. We can continue taking off the rest of this actual bumper here. Okay, so to take off the bumper, there's a few ways to do it. You can either take off the bumper itself or the bumper with the brackets. I feel like I'm going to go ahead and just take off the bumper by itself without the brackets. That way we'll have better access to actually take off the brackets here. As you see, there's really not much of an access point to get to these screws back here. So we're going to go ahead and remove the bumper, and then we'll be able to take the brackets off. All right, so to remove the bumper without the brackets, there's 4 total screws, I'm pretty sure. There's going to be a T50 Torx. There's one right there. There's one underneath, and the same 2 on the other side. So we're going to go ahead and unscrew all these 4 bolts. Alright, so I ended up getting 3 bolts out. This is the only one that I couldn't get because it's all stripped and it's kind of stuck in there. What I'm going to do instead, just take the bumper brackets off. I thought it would be a lot easier to take the bumper off by itself, because then I'd have more room to actually get the brackets off. But it is possible to take the brackets off with the bumper still attached. And hopefully with the bumper off with the brackets, we'll be able to at least slide this screw, because we're going to have to slide it a little bit just to make room for the actual brackets for the tow hook. So I already got 2 of the screws out on this side, and now I'm just going to go ahead and do the other side. Alright guys, so a little bit of an update. We got the bumper off. We weren't able to get this last screw off of the bracket, but that's fine as long as you can just slide it in. As you can see, there's space to slide it around just to make room for the tow hook bracket. Now we're ready to actually put the tow hook brackets in. And as you see, some of these nuts broke off of the stock screws. So here is the driver's side tow hook bracket. You see these 3 holes right here are going to mount right over here, and then your bumper brackets are going to go over that. And then there's 1 bolt in the very back that will actually go way back there in that back hole right there. And then you're going to have to put the washer and nut on the other side, which you get to it somewhere through there, but I'll show you guys when I actually get to that part. So right now I'm going to go ahead and attempt to put these brackets on. Okay guys, so I went ahead and screwed in the tow hook right there. So you can see you have the screw, washer, and the nut on the bottom. So those are all tight. And then I realized that the bottom nut that holds in the bracket isn't really catching. So I'm just going to have to use a new one. I have one right there. So that's what I'm going to use. And these other 2 are fine. So I'm going to reuse those. And for the screw that screws into the back of the frame right there, that silver one, that goes in right there, as well as a washer and a nut on the other side, which I'll show you guys right here. It's kind of hard to get to the other side here, but if you go all the way right up there, that's where it comes out on the other side. As you can see, I have the washer and the nut on there. So now I just have to go ahead and tighten that up. And to put the bumper back on, you're going to have to put it on with the brackets already attached, because there's no way to screw in the bracket from the bottom here because the tow hook will be in the way. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I already have these hand tight. And as you can see, these screws can slide to make room for the tow hook bracket, which you're going to have to adjust here when you actually put the bumper on. So these bumper brackets just slide right over the tow hook brackets, and then you're supposed to reuse the stock bolts that were already on here, and you just screw it in right there. And like I said, this bottom nut that was in here wasn't really catching the screw, so I'm going to have to get a different one for that. That might happen for you as well. So This top screw and this top nut is good, so I'm going to reuse that, as well as this one in the back. So all that's left to do right now is tighten up that one in the very back, and then do the other side. Then we can go ahead and slide the bumper on and adjust the bumper brackets and put all the screws in. Alright guys, so it's a few hours later. We got these 3 bolts all tightened up. We ended up having to replace one of them on this side and one on the other side, just because the nut broke off on the other side of this, so we just use a different screw, a different nut, and a washer. The other 2 screws on this side are stock. Now if we go to the other side, you see this bottom one over here is different, and these other 2 are the stock screws. Same side, I think there was a little bit too much of a gap, so the stock screw just couldn't reach the end of the nut. So we just got a little bit of longer screw and a washer and a nut. So we're done actually bolting up the bumper. The only thing left is to tighten up those silver screws in the very back of the tow hook brackets, which you can actually see through the wheel wells here. It's that silver screw right there. That's the only thing that needs to be tightened up, and then we're completely done with the bumper. And then the only thing that's left is putting on the 2 end caps. One thing that I didn't mention is this little flap fell off. It was just sitting right up here. Not really sure. It wasn't really held in by anything except for these 2 on the corner. This is actually where that first screw ripped out from right there. There wasn't anything holding it up like from the top, so I'm not really sure if there's supposed to be something there or not. But as you can see, the tow hooks look really good. They have this little clip right there. And yeah, they feel really solid. They're rated for 10,000 pounds, so I'm actually really excited to go ahead and test these out off-road. Alright, so we ended up getting these 2 screws on the back of the tow hook bracket tightened down. They're going to be 19 millimeters, and like I said, it's just the screw on the side. And you actually don't have to hold it down because it has a little, like a square shape. So as long as you get it all the way into the bracket and the frame, it'll just stay there and not spin. So now we are ready to go ahead and put these end caps back on. But before we do that, we're going to have to screw this vacuum canister back to the bumper right here. It's just going to go on like that and screw into these holes right over here. And make sure you do this before you put the end cap back on, because if the end cap is on, you won't be able to access these 2 screws right here. Alright guys, so I went ahead and put in both of the end caps. I didn't record the process of putting it back on because it's literally just the exact opposite of taking them off. Just make sure that you put all the bolts back. If you end up still having bolts that you took off, then you probably didn't do it the right way. So just make sure that everything goes back in place. So now to actually look at the tow hooks here, this is what they look like. Not really sure if they're supposed to be so close to the actual plastic piece right here, because I feel like it would be really difficult to actually like get a tow strap through there. So the only way might be to just attach a shackle to this thing, because I can't really see a way that you would be able to bend this plastic all the way back to like fit a tow strap in there. So yeah, that's the only downside. I do like how they look. I just wish they stuck out a bit farther to allow more room to actually put a tow strap through this little holder right here. But other than that, it's really stable, really sturdy. You can tell it's really strong, and it attaches straight to the frame with 4 bolts. So this thing definitely isn't going anywhere. If you guys remember, I told you I ripped these screws out that were in here, so I just put 2 big washers on top and bottom, and it's kind of just pinching it together right there so it doesn't move. Then this screw didn't rip out, but the actual screw broke off, so I had to replace this as well. So it's only held in by these 2 screws right there and right there. There's actually no screws holding it in on this piece right over here. I thought about putting push pins in there, but they just kept falling out and not really holding it in. Didn't have any anyway, so I just decided to not put anything in there. Then obviously there's your fog light. You want to make sure the little connector gets pushed back in there and you plug it in, obviously. And then you want to make sure these push pins go back in for the fender liner. Now, I only took off this one at first, but I ended up pulling it back so far that the one up there came out too. So if that happens, just make sure you put it back in. And another problem that I ran into is that the fender liner over here was actually on the outside of the body, not on the inside. So I ended up taking the whole end cap off again just to fix the fender and put it on the inside how it is right now. And it fit a lot better. So yeah, this is what it's supposed to look like whenever you're done. Of course, you got the tow hook bracket right here. It comes out of this little hole in the plastic piece of the end cap right here. If you guys want to see some more Jeep tutorials, make sure to check out my channel. I have a bunch of maintenance tutorials, all types of fluid and filter changes and just regular maintenance stuff that you probably want to do to your XJ. And definitely subscribe so you don't miss my featured Jeep mods that I'm going to do to this thing. Hopefully soon here, I'll be doing a 3-inch lift and putting 31-inch tires on this thing. And then going off-roading, of course, so that'll be a lot of fun. If you guys have any questions, make sure to drop those down in the comments. If you have any video suggestions for videos you'd like to see in the future, also drop those down in the comments. If you found this video informative or entertaining, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.